Welcome back to the Joust About Careers podcast, where you can learn about careers from the people who are actually in the trenches every day. I'm your host, Brian Brott, and I'm a career advisor and English teacher at Van Buren who wants to see all people make good career and life decisions. This episode features the highlights of the interview with Tom Rowles, a concert tour manager, production manager, audio engineer, and producer in the music industry from Nashville, Tennessee. Tom shares about how there are no typical days for him, what experiences have brought him to where he is, the glamour and grind of the music industry, and his advice to others interested in this type of career. If you like what you hear from Tom and would like to learn more, you can always watch the full interview. And if you find this podcast useful, please share it with someone else. Enjoy the show.
I guess the easiest answer is a day isn't very typical in what I do because I'm fully freelance in the work that I do. So I kind of take different contracts with different acts and events that are going on. As a gig worker is kind of the term that's used these days. But typically, my primary work is as a tour manager and a front of house engineer for touring musicians and artists and bands, that kind of thing. And so typically that is taking them from, they have an event or a concert planned that I'm helping them with. And so I will generally oversee all of the travel logistics, how we're getting there, putting the show on, those kinds of technical things as far as our band has a drummer and a guitarist, so we need to make sure that those things are accommodated for, maybe lights, sound, and things like that. And then also at the end of the day, making sure that the act gets paid for the work that they've done putting on the show. Those are kind of all the things that fall under what I'm overseeing. When I got to Belmont University, where I went to college, they had a program there that I got involved with really quickly, and that's kind of what set me on the path that I am on now, and that's their showcase series. It's like a full hands-on concert production sort of a thing where we put on completely student organized and led concerts in the basketball arena that we had on campus, and they were with student bands and that kind of a thing. But it was at an arena level. It wasn't like your coffee shop show. We actually got to do, like full scale lights, video, sound, like all of those things that you would see if you went to a really big production. And we had local vendors and local professionals come in and kind of, obviously we didn't have much of that experience. It was kind of a sandbox environment for us to learn and see and get taught on a lot of these different systems and kind of how they worked within themselves. So that's where a lot of the background of what I learned came from. But then outside of that, it was working in local venues and stuff like that around town, and kind of getting involved with small productions, bands, friends that had bands or things like that, putting on events and kind of just getting involved with that when we just, it was for no money. It was just kind of an experience sort of a thing. And then through that and through there's a kind of an alumni network that we had within that program of the people that had then gotten out into the field and started doing it in a more professional setting. And so then with friends that I made and connections that I made through working there when I was in college, some friends that were involved with touring acts or something like that were able to take me out for a weekend and just kind of, I would get to work in a real environment and just kind of be a helping hand and things like that. It was a lot of just kind of being in the room when things were going on, so that when somebody needed help, they could say, hey, can you come over here and help this? And then rubbing shoulders with people as you go. From there, it was a lot of relationship building. Those are kind of, because all of those uh, jobs that you've referenced with the bands that I've worked with came from relationships that I built in school or outside of school, working around and working with peers. And so then when a job would open up, I would get recommended for it based off of some previous work that I had done, or it would be somebody that I had a relationship with that was in the hiring position that would be reaching out to me saying, hey, there's a job opening here, something similar to that. Certainly there's a lot of glamour that makes it into the media, and this is kind of the impression of what's going on. And there are a lot of really cool things. I heard it once described as the social capital, I think, of the whole thing. What we get to do working in this industry is very cool. People come and see these shows and they enjoy it, and that stuff is really cool. And there's a lot of, I get paid to travel. I get to see, I've been in 4 continents. I've toured in over 10 countries in just the last year. And so like that's stuff that I never would have dreamed of doing coming into this. And it's still just like, it's hard to kind of believe that that's some of the experiences that I've been able to have just here. I'm 25 years old. So that is really cool. But there is also a lot of grind. There's a lot of late nights and early mornings. The show, when everyone goes home from the show that was attending the show, that's like 9, 10 o'clock, 11 if it's late or something like that. But then we're still working until 1 or 2 a.m. to tear it all down and get it packed up and get on to the next one. And then sometimes it's catching a 5 or 6 a.m. flight or just getting into a van super early. And so sleep is hard to come by. And, finding a good bathroom is hard to come by. When you're on the road, you're in and out of a lot of truck stops and that kind of a thing. Hotels here and there, but there's a lot of it that's not for the weak, I guess. You're on short sleep. Sometimes you have to set aside a meal so that you can keep working because you're behind schedule on something, or the van breaks down, the bus breaks down. There's a lot of weird things. You're always kind of thinking on the fly and pivoting with weird quirks that may come up with the day. So there's a lot of that goes through it. And so there's a lot of stress and challenge and problem solving that goes into it, but also at the same time, you get to put on a show and like you get to hear everybody cheering at the end of the day, no matter what part of the show that you're a part of. If you're selling merch, if you're just plugging things in, you get to be a part of the thing that everyone's come and paid money for to cheer for and have a good evening. So there's a lot of both sides to it, I would say. I would say that the most important skill to have is to be a sponge, is to not walk into a situation like you know all about it or know more than the people around you. There is always something to learn, and particularly the work that happens, often I describe some of the quirks or errors that may come in a day with setbacks or things like that. It becomes a very high pressure environment. And so cool under pressure is really, really a big thing, because as soon as one person gets stressed out, then another person can get stressed out. And then suddenly your whole team is falling apart. And so it's really valuable, I would say, is to be we call it a good hang, but it's just somebody that you really want to be around, because when you're really kind of in the trenches of a tough situation, you want to know that you can count on the people behind you, and you don't want to be frustrated with this or that about them or something like that. It really comes down to that camaraderie fact too. There are a million things that I've done in the past few years that I could never have seen myself doing in high school or even dreamed of doing. And it really just, it's a ripple effect of just kind of taking one leap of faith into another leap of faith. And so, I would really just push myself towards the things that make me uncomfortable and the things that conventional mindset might say, you can't do this or you shouldn't be able to do this, because it's really not true.
Thank you for watching and listening to this episode of the Joust About Careers podcast. I hope you learned valuable information from this career story, and to be sure you don't miss upcoming episodes, please click subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform so you'll know when the next episode is released. Thank you for watching, and as always, this is the place to go to learn just about careers.